At this moment of social distancing, we often talk about being connected or entertained through technology, whether that's Zooms or Instagram or WhatsApp groups. But what is technology? Have humans always been technological? This week, we're going to be thinking about these questions and whether we can develop a more positive or at least self-aware relationship with technology. Now, I've always thought that one of the most interesting artworks dealing with the relationship between humanity and technology is Stanley Kubrick's cult classic film 2001: A Space Odyssey. Now, as well as presenting us as whack-tastic primates, I think it's important to note that Kubrick is drawing a link between this moment of the birth of technology and the future space age. This link is made obvious when the bone tossed up in the air in the prehistoric past becomes the satellite orbiting the Earth in the future. So, as a warm-up exercise, I want you to pause the video here and write a quick list of 5 technologies, and these could be anything from hammers to smartphones to spaceships, that are important to the history of civilization, and then I want you to write a brief sentence after each one explaining why. Off you go. So our first exercise uses the poem Pike by Ted Hughes, and you can listen to that on Poetry Archive. Now, this is a popular but often misunderstood poem, and as we go along, I'll be explaining how it's not just about fishing for these monstrous carnivorous fish in a pond, but about fishing down inside ourselves and inside our own mind. Okay, so you'll want to pause the video here and to go read or listen to Pike. See you in a sec. Now, one of the things that reading Pike reminds me is that our relationship with the environment always changes due to the tools we have at our disposal. On the most basic level, if we've got a rod, we want to find some water, work out what's under that water, and catch that stuff, right? So for our first main writing exercise, I want you to imagine you're in any outside space and then to think of a piece of technology that you have with you. It could be a smartphone or a drone or a spade or a book or a fishing rod or a pogo stick, whatever you like. I want you to write for 5 minutes without thinking too much about it, about what you do with that piece of technology and how it changes your relationship to the landscape. Off you go. So, if you think this poem is only about fish, you're only splashing around on the surface. The process of fishing in this poem serves as a kind of metaphor for Hughes reaching down into the depths of his own unconscious and the animal instincts that lie within him. Hughes thinks of poetry as a kind of tool for reaching inside ourselves or down into history and fishing out different ideas and feelings within. So for our next writing exercise, I'd like you to write for about 5 minutes about fishing within yourself. What sorts of animals or objects would you pull up, and what would these represent? Okay, so pause the video here and go fishing. Digital technologies offer new opportunities for us to communicate at a distance. And in fact, you can think of them as an evolution in the ways we communicate that transforms the way we relate to each other. I mean, where would we be without smileys and selfies and pug gifs? Sometimes, though, this communication at a distance means things get lost in the process. And this has been going on for some time. Follow the link on the handout to Carol Ann Duffy's poem from the early days of phones. I tend the mobile now, like an injured bird. We text, are significant words. I reread your first, your second, your third. Look for your small XX, feeling absurd. The codes we send arrive with a broken cord. I try to picture your hands. Their image is blurred. Nothing my thumbs press will ever be heard. Now, I've briefly given you some things to think about while you're reading the poem, and these are detailed more fully on the handout, but if you want, you can pause the video here and have a look at them. So for this final exercise, I'd like you to write for about 20 minutes straight, prose or poetry, whatever you like, incorporating one example of technology as connecting us to other people or our own internal world or the environment, and one example of technology separating us from those things. Okay, so if you get stuck with that exercise, try and have a think about how your relationship with technology might change in the future after your experiences during this period of upheaval with coronavirus, and make that your starting point. Ready to write? Off you go. As ever, we'd love to hear from you. So get in touch whether you want to share your writing or just speak to us about poetry and films and other stuff. We always love doing that. Find us on Twitter or at writingcomp@liverpool.ac.uk. This creative writing video was made as part of our collaboration with the Everyman and Playhouse Theatres.